Hello fellow locksmiths. It's been a while since I've posted a video up with a how-to. This particular lock featured in the video showing me opening it in under 20 seconds. This lock came from a job where the previous person who had changed the locks had run a grinder down the front of this bolt, and you can see the carnage that's caused. So we've only got a little bit of the bolt left on this particular lock. Once they changed the locks, they then put it inside and discarded it, only for me to come along and find the evidence and also give me the opportunity to talk to you about how I can open this lock so quickly and what you can do to improve your opening skills. So this particular lock, if you were to use the Locksy app, for example, you would go and you would select a grey colour. It's a 5 gauge curtain, a barrel and curtain, and as you can see, the hard plate is open on the bottom here. So if you put those details into the filter, you'll come up with a choice of locks, and one of them is very obvious, which is this one, which is the Chubb 3U74, and this is the Chubb version of the Union 2134E. So they're fundamentally the same lock, same lever pack. They're just different colours, effectively. So once you've identified this in the door, then you'll then know that this particular lock has 7 different lever heights, possible lever heights, and lever heights 7 to 3 have the anti-pick notch after the true gate, and only the highest lift levers 1 and 2 will have the anti-pick notch before the true gate. In other words, they'll go into the anti-pick prior to being opened. So when you come up against this on the door, what are your choices? Well, what I tend to do is pick everything as if it's a low lift lever and then allow the lock to jump into anti-pick. And then once it's done that, I can then go back and cycle through the pack and work out which of those particular levers are stuck in anti-pick. And then when I pick through it a second time, or a third time, or whatever, how many times it takes, I'm then able to work out where to lift each lever to get the lock open. So on this particular instance, what I'm going to do is we'll curtain pick it first. So I'm just going to pop the pick in there. This is obviously an 8-ball pick, so this one is sleeved into the lock. So what I'm going to do, the rule number 1 always on mortise locks is pick the binding levers, and I know that the lever nearest the cap is the one that binds first on this. And if you listen, there's a little knock when that lever was lifted up. If you look at the, well, you can't see the angle actually of the handle here, but the angle of that handle is basically telling me that that's only been lifted a short way. And if we rattle the pick, you can hear that lever's rattling. So for all intents and purposes, that lever's now in its true gate. Let's go to the second lever in. That's bound. If you have a listen, I'm very gently nudging this. There we go. We just had a knock. And now that lever is tapping. If we go to the third lever in, that's bound. There we go. Fourth lever in, that's made a noise. Fifth lever in, and there we go. The bolt has jumped back, the handle has moved, and the lock has gone into anti-pick. Now the great thing about this is it's a diagnostic tool. You should never be worried about anti-pick. Don't reset your lock at this stage. Use the anti-pick as a diagnostic method for how you're going to pick it properly the next time round. So I'm going to start at lever 5 at the back, and you can hear what I'm doing is I'm just tapping the handle, and you can hear the levers tapping. Sounds like it's in a gate. 4 sounds in a gate. 3, 2, and that's lever 1. Let me move the camera back ever so slightly here, and then you might actually be able to see what I'm doing with my hand. Just sort of focus out. Okay, so lever 1 is very obviously an anti-pick because it's solid. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reset the lock. I don't need to reset the lock because you can pick these out of anti-pick, but I'm going to reset it anyway. And I'm now going to lift that first lever into the first jump, and then I'm going to lift it again to the second position. And now the angle on that handle, if I move back even further, you can now see, there you go, that handle now is pointing much further up than it was just now, and it's tapping. So I've lifted that first lever now out of its anti-pick notch and into its true gate. Let's go to the second lever. Very, very gentle tension, gentle pressure. There we go, we had a little knock. That's now tapping. Go to 3. There's a little knock. That's now tapping. 4. Little knock. And finally 5. There we go. So the lock has now jumped back into anti-pick again. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to check. 5 is rattling. 4 is now solid. 3 is rattling. 2 is rattling. And 1, as you can see, is much greater angle than 2. So we've lifted 1, which is a high lift lever, into its true gate. And then all the other levers are in their true gates apart from 4, which, as you can hear, is solid. So I've got a choice now. I can try and lift that out of my anti-pick and get the lock open, or we can reset and start again and pick the lock differently. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and get it out of anti-pick. So I'm going to relax this hand, get myself underneath lever 4, which is solid. And as I relax my left hand, I'm going to be pulsing with my right hand, and it's just lifted that lever up now into its true gate. And now one of the other levers has dropped. So let's just go through and see which one has dropped. It was lever 5, and now you can see that that lock is open, and of course you can't see the bolt disappear now because it's been ground off, but actually the bolt's gone all the way in, and as you can see we have the lock open. So by you applying logic to this, I was able to lift everything until it fell into gates. So lift the binding lever so it fell into a gate, and then when the lock jumped into anti-pick, I used it as a diagnostic tool for lever 1 and lever 4. And that then allowed me then to go back and pick the lock again, or try and lift it out of anti-pick and get the open. So you can very easily diagnose these locks. Once you know now that lever 1 and 4 are high lift, you can pick it in a completely different way. So we can go back as per the picking video that I put up. So there we go. That's 1 lifted high. That's 2 lifted low. 3 lifted low, 4 lifted high, 5, and the lock is open. So that diagnostic tool, as you saw, enabled me, the diagnostics I've just done, has enabled me to pick that in really quick time. But there's nothing special about that. It's just knowledge about the lock and also controlling the tension. For those who might be thinking that I'm cheating here, I can't honestly see what that would achieve, but let me take these screws out. And what you will see is a full complement of levers inside this lock. So we've got a high lift lever at the front there, which is a 1 height. Then we've got a 4, and another 4 behind that. Then we've got a 2, which is a high lift lever, and then behind that is another 4 because it follows the ABA pattern. So as you can see, my levers lever height 1 and 2 both have that anti-pick notch before the true gate, which is why they both went into the anti-pick and allowed us to use us as a diagnostic tool for this lock. So that's this method, and as you saw, it just involves a little bit of curtain picking and fine fettling. What else can you do on this? Well, you can use a scope, because where the plasticine can reach and give you a reading on the back of these levers, a scope is able to see the same difference. And these levers do have a very distinct pattern on the back, on the heels, to enable you to actually visually decode this lock and see what's going on. So I'm just putting a video up off that of a scope going in and coming back out again. That's one method you could use, or you can get a reader key like I've got here, and I'll put a zoom of that up on the screen at this stage. And as you can see from that key, this is the one that comes from the GJ pin and cam kit, and the marks on this key very clearly show a 14424 as a pattern on the key. So you could actually use that as a diagnostic aid to prior to curtain picking these locks. And then you would always know that if you had a 1 or a 2, then you're going to have a high lift, and then everything else is just little nudges until they drop into their true gates. So there you go. That's a little bit of a quick discussion about this lock. And I know I've put videos up showing me picking it in a few seconds, and that's exactly how we get to that stage. Obviously, when I do the video, it is somewhat staged, but I've already done the diagnostic work on the lock, and then all I'm doing is just showing how the curtain picking process works. All right, well, I hope that helps, and yeah, great. Good luck with your lock picking, and see you out there.